Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as the rest of this working week is looking fairly warm, temperatures into the low 20s with on and off rain, heaviest in the west and the north, where we do have weather fronts trying to push in. Now that doesn't sound like anything too spectacular for summer, but all things could change as we head into the weekend. As we have alluded to over the past few videos, we could be seeing some very intense heat, especially Sunday through to Tuesday next week, as we do see a very strong plume of air pushing up from the south. Some would call this a kind of classic Spanish plume pattern where our air mass comes directly from Spain. It is looking really hot from some of the runs today. Now, it isn't a major heat wave. It's not a typical summer heat wave where it lasts for many days. This is a sort of plume where it goes from being about 25 degrees to the low 30s, then back down to 25 degrees once again. Not only could we be seeing a lot of heat, but we could also be seeing some big thunderstorms around as well, because although it is going to be hot for a time, it is going to be a relatively unstable atmosphere, especially as it breaks down next week, and then we could see quite a bit of explosive activity there. So we'll look at that on the latest UKV, and of course look at that in the longer range runs as well, as we do head into the middle of the month, as well as it is looking likely to potentially repeat, especially from the GFS today. So do remember, if you enjoy the videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. And if you start on the live radar, we have had that weather front that moved through last night, finally sweeping away the warm air that we have had in place over the weekend. And you can see that we are now all in fresh conditions. We are having a few showers coming in from the west, but generally it's a pretty dry evening, recording this around 10 PM, and you can see the temperatures this evening aren't cold, but they're quite a bit fresher than it has been recently. A lot of that warmth is now pushed back into Europe. You can see we are considerably cooler than much of Europe, where we still have temperatures towards the 20-degree range. Here we're back into the teens, so it's much more comfortable for sleeping. It hasn't been too bad over the last few days, but now definitely a lot more comfortable. And yeah, we're back down towards kind of what we'd expect for the time of year. Some places even below average in the north and west, where we do have rain. Now, if you have a look at the latest UKV, you can see that at the moment we've got showers pushing through, nothing too amazing. As we head into Wednesday, similar story, showers coming in from the west, some thicker cloud around, but nothing too bad. Temperatures probably around average for the time of year. As we head into Thursday, we perhaps see a bit more persistent rain pushing in from the west. Again, it's kind of on and off, not looking like it's going to persist all the time, but it could mean quite a drab day in places, especially in the north, where it could pep up through the afternoon. So not looking great there on Thursday. Not a complete washout, but could be a washout in a few places. But hopefully it does clear a little bit faster than this run has it, and hopefully it does turn drier, because as you can see into the evening, although cloud and drizzly rain sticks around, it does turn generally a bit drier. As we're into Friday, we're back towards some sunny conditions, maybe a few showers around. So yeah, the next few days, only really Thursday looking like a bit of a blip, and then again, generally not looking too bad. Into Saturday, we start to see the wind direction shifting. It moves to more of a southerly wind. And you can see that we've got this drier slot across Europe, and that's the very hot air starting to arrive. A bit of rain across the Midlands, North Wales and Northern England, but that will clear northwards. And then as we head into Sunday, look at all of that rain is much further northwards and is getting held. And you can see this big dry slot across England and Wales. And that is the exceptionally hot air mass that has now pushed in. Now, if you run it back to Thursday, you can see some warm air pushing in, but that's a standard warm sector associated with a low pressure system. As you can see, fresher air moves in for Friday. And then as we into Saturday, the heat is building across Europe. Look at that, 17, 18 degrees across France. And then as we head into Sunday, that pushes our way, and we could even see the low 20s, which is pretty ridiculous indeed. Again, I said this in a couple of videos ago. When we saw 40 degrees in 2022, we saw the upper air temperatures getting to around the 23 to 25 degree range. Again, we can't pinpoint it because it's very difficult to actually measure these upper air temperatures, but that was what the forecast we were seeing Here, you can see we are getting towards 20, maybe 21, 22. There are 24s and 25s here, but we would have to see this persist for a couple of days to see that 40 degrees. Because remember, in 2022, we had about 2 or 3 days of build-up from around the high 20s, 30s, a couple of days in the mid-30s, and finally we got to that 40-degree mark. So we'd have to have a couple of days of this building in, and that's looking very unlikely here. It does look like it's a plume, a Spanish plume, where it arrives and dissipates within about 24 to 48 hours. But regardless, very hot, very oppressive, and yeah, would be pretty extreme indeed. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, you can see as we head into Wednesday, temperatures around average for the time of year, maybe slightly below average, low 20s or high teens. As we head into Thursday, expect those temperatures to be a bit lower, widely, hardly getting into the 20-degree range, and that is because of that cloud and rain. So Thursday could be a pretty cool day, and then you can see as we head into Friday, better conditions into the low 20s, maybe even pushing the mid-20s, and the same most likely will be said for Friday and for Saturday, again looking into the low to mid-20s. And you can see Saturday, decent, but nothing crazy. But then look what happens as we head into Sunday. Temperatures at 9 a.m. already reaching the peak from Saturday. At midday, we're already touching the high 20s, and by 3 p.m. we're into the low 30s. And again, even though we're only seeing top temperatures of here 30, 31, it's pretty widespread, and I wouldn't be surprised to hear 32 or 33 somewhere. Again, as we get nearer the time, it could upgrade further, and if that heat does stick around for Monday, which is a bit of a touch and go at the moment, we could even get 35 degrees plus, and that would be pretty extreme. If we saw that, would be the hottest temperature of the summer so far. We'll have to wait and see. The air mass would definitely suggest that, but it depends whether that air mass will hang around. As we'll see from the longer range runs now, they are very much touch and go whether they last for Tuesday. The majority of runs by Wednesday, Thursday, the heat's completely gone, but it's whether it happens Sunday night into Monday, happens Monday evening, or even into Tuesday. We'll have to wait and see. But if we do have a look at the latest GFS now, we'll try and give the best kind of indications of when that heat will move away. Now, if you do look at the conditions at the moment, you see a westerly flow at the moment. But as we head into Saturday, I want you to watch the air mass across Spain. Look at this big plume of heat. Again, it's nothing absolutely ridiculous for Spain. It's above average by around 6 to 8 degrees, but it's nothing, out of this world. And watch those dark reds and pinks just head northwards. They just head straight northwards towards us, and then you can see they skim the south coast and the eastern portion into Monday. And you can see here the hot air is there for Monday afternoon. If we zoom in, it is just about clipping the far southeast corner, and you see here we're into the high 20s or low 30s. Again, we'll look at these temperatures too literally, as it is longer range runs and they are a little bit more inaccurate, but very interesting indeed, showing that we are just about clipping that very hot air there Monday, and you can see still hanging on to those very hot conditions. But as I said, it's not a dry heat. If we do look at the Cape, lots of energy associated with it, and the precipitation, we would likely see heavy thundery showers breaking out as this moves away. Again, don't take the exact intensities here too literally, just the fact that there will be showers around in Tuesday and Wednesday as the heat gets pushed away. But very interesting indeed to see the exact timings of this. Again, by no means do I think it's going to hang around for more than 48 to 72 hours, but it's in that sort of range. How long will it be here for? As that said, will make a tremendous difference to those temperatures on Monday or even Tuesday. So if we do head into the rest of the week, you see a westerly flow returns. It turns much fresher. Upper air temperatures dropping by around 15 degrees. So back towards the high teens or low 20s at best. But as we enter the longer range, as I said, the possibility of a southerly flow could happen again. And this is exactly what happens on the GFS. We see another Spanish plume right towards 384 hours. Now this is more of a classic thundery plume, as you see very intense low pressure just out to our west. So yes, this would be hot once again. And again, if we put on the Cape levels, you can see again quite high levels of energy getting pushed up from the south. We'll have to wait and see how that does respond through Thursday, Friday from this run. But yeah, could be very intense. It's that low pressure out to our west. You'd expect just to the east of this weather front to see some intense thunderstorms breaking out in the afternoon into the evening with all that instability around. Again, very interesting indeed. Could be setting up a pretty explosive next couple of weeks. Very hot temperatures and could be some big thunderstorms as well. Do have a look at the GM. If we put on the upper air temperatures, have a look at the same parameters. Again, westerly flow, watch that heat across Spain, slowly pooling northwards through Saturday and then properly arriving on Sunday into Monday. Again, very uncertain how much that 20-degree isotherm pushes in and how long do we stay within that sort of 15-degree isotherm, which is the threshold for seeing 30 degrees plus. And you can see here, we just about exit it by Monday afternoon. So again, we'll have to wait and see. But it arrives a little bit earlier, maybe even through Saturday. So if you actually have a look at Saturday's temperatures, we'd be still, if we actually have a look at the peak afternoon temperatures, we'd be up into the maybe mid to high 20s. So we'll have to wait and see. And then for Sunday here, again, very hot up towards the 30-degree range. Again, don't take it too literally, don't take the exact numbers, but it's the fact that it climbs up significantly there through Sunday. But yeah, very interesting indeed with that run. And then if we go right into the extended range, again, a westerly flow returns and again could see more southerly plumes, just nothing too extreme like the GFS was showing. If we finally compare to the ECMWF, again a westerly flow continuing over the coming days, put on those upper air temperatures, you see that very hot air from Spain moving northwards and looking pretty intense, and you can see the 20-degree isotherm is still there by Monday afternoon. So that gives us quite a high chance that it remains very hot even into Monday for eventually getting pushed by Tuesday, and then it's more of a westerly flow for the rest of the week. If we do just have a look at those 2-meter temperatures, for Sunday, initially, not quite as hot, but still high 20s, and that is because the upper air temperatures take a little bit longer to come in, and then into Monday, again, getting into those low 30s. You can see across Europe here, 35, 36 degrees, so very hot indeed. If we actually look at France, you can see here maybe even touching 40 degrees somewhere in there. We're seeing 36, 37, and you could always, for the peak spots, add a few degrees. So again, very hot across France. It's just how much of that do we tap in for the UK and for how long? So yeah, Spanish Plume definitely looks like it's happening for Northern and Western Europe. Just how will it affect the UK in terms of timings and intensity? Now you can see a wider range of outcomes here from the latest on. So we'll see the latest GFS hovering around average over the next 3 or 4 days, and then that big spike by the weekend around Sunday. Most runs going to 15 degrees, which is the indicator for 30 degrees. I think 30 degrees is looking very likely, but it's how much hotter does it get than that? Some runs only 15 degrees, and that would be, as I said, 30 degrees. Other runs more towards the high teens, mid-teens, and again, that would be suggestive low 30s. But there's still a minority of runs that are slightly higher than the GFS operational run here that get towards a 20-degree range. And if that happens, then not only would the heat hang around for longer, because it would be indicative of that plume slightly further northwards and westwards, so we could see even hotter conditions on Monday, but it would mean the peak temperatures through Sunday, Monday could get to around the 35-degree range, which would be getting oppressively hot. Because remember, only a few years ago, prior to the 40-degree heat wave we saw in 2022, and the other temperature records we saw in the few years prior to that, our top temperature was only around, I think it was 38.1 degrees from 2003, prior to the very hot summers we've had in the last sort of 6 or 7 years. So, 35 degrees is pretty ridiculous in the kind of our history. It's just not too ridiculous compared to what we have seen in the past kind of short-term summer history. So we'll have to wait and see. And then longer term, back towards average, precipitation fairly high, standard westerly flow, and then you can see the operation run a little bit weird, head towards the longer range going very hot once again. If you look at those 2 meter temperatures, you can see the big spike into early next week. Most runs into the high 20s or low 30s, but again, don't take these too literally. We have to wait near the time. If you finally look at the ECMWF, very similar, but they're even hotter. Majority of runs are well above the 15-degree range, which would give a very high chance of the temperatures into the low 30s, maybe even a higher chance of us pushing 35 degrees. Again, it'll depend on the exact timings. Each of these hashed boxes is 6 hours, so you can see the peak temperatures are only lasting around the 12 to 18 hour point and above the 15-degree range for about 36 to 48 hours or so. So yeah, as I said, Monday, Tuesday is going to be done after that. That is the most likely scenario. But it's just about the timings of the hottest air. Does it coincide with the afternoon? Does it coincide with some thunderstorms? We'll have to wait and see. But regardless, it is looking very hot, at least for a time later this week into the start of next week. So make sure you keep up to date. Make sure you stay safe if this does get this hot, as it could be very oppressive very suddenly. And of course, there could be a big breakdown of thunderstorms as well. But again, we'll sort of fill in those details as we get nearer to the time. As I said, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.